a stupid fantasy question. So I'm in a league where every year you get one keeper, and it has to be a pick that you had in the 6th round or later. That's it. That's the rule. And I got Brandon Aiyuk last year in the 6th round, and that was probably going to be my keeper. What do you do?
I wouldn't keep him.
I mean, I have a month to think about this, and maybe it's all figured out by then. Certainly doesn't feel like it today. It doesn't feel like it's going to be figured. Like, where would you put the over-under right now to when we get some sort of clarity on Brandon Aiyuk's situation? Give me a date.
My birthday.
Which is?
August 15th.
Okay.
I think by August 15th, we'll have clarity.
And you would bet the under on that?
I would bet, I would probably bet the under, but not by a lot. Not by a lot. And I was looking at this earlier. The Niners' schedule, you've got August 18th against New Orleans, preseason opener.
Okay.
And then you've got at Vegas the 23rd. Actually, I'm sorry, August 10th against the Titans is the opener.
Okay.
So if he's not signed by then, that would be surprising to me.
You think so?
The first preseason game, because you want him to at least get ready for one preseason game, I think ideally.
Yeah, but this isn't an ideal situation. I think ideal left town already, didn't it?
Yeah, so best case, this gets done before next Tuesday. And he's able to come into camp.
Well, that's not happening.
Best case. We're talking about best case.
Okay.
Best case, it gets done by next Tuesday. He reports. He takes 3 or 4 days of getting loose and getting checked out. And then he hits the field by the end of July, and he's ready to go into August. Realistic case, I think, is about August 15th, which would be one preseason game down, 2 to go. He gets signed. He doesn't play against New Orleans. Maybe he does a little bit of the joint practices with Vegas. He doesn't play that game, and then he's ready September 9th.
Yeah, and you may well be right. Like, I'll remind everybody that today, both Brandon, the 49ers, and all of us fans and media, we sit in what is largely the most emotional moment of this process. I would argue. It's today, yesterday and today. This is the most emotional moment of the process. That does not make it rational. In fact, it pretty much defines it as the opposite. So our opinion today is the most activated, emotional, and irrational that it will probably ever be. So just because Brandon put this on Twitter yesterday does not mean that it's the first time that it's been said to the 49ers. It probably means that this was said to the 49ers multiple times throughout the last few months. It probably means that this was officially said to the Niners weeks ago. Like, at minimum, when was it that Brandon did the podcast and the social media thing where he pulled up on Levi's Stadium and went, open the damn gates? And like, I don't know how many of you follow his social media, but that was on there. He drove up to Levi's Stadium, open the bleeping gates. And he was excited or anxious or whatever, and he'd gone on Ryan Clark's podcast, and he called the meeting, and the Niners are taking the meeting, and we're having a meeting. All right, when was that?
That was about, and Grandy had it this morning, I think 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
What he was saying.
When was that?
Yeah, I think it was late June.
Late June.
Yeah,
3
Grandy
weeks.
first said a month, and then he said might have been 3 weeks, and I think that's about right.
I would bet that, assuming those meetings, it sounds like, didn't go so well, I would bet that the 49ers were told the next day, we would like a trade. And the Niners probably went, oh, okay.
Okay. You know what we'd like?
Yeah.
A 6 Lombardi.
Right.
So,
you know what?
There you have it.
Yeah. I'd like a box of donuts. Doesn't mean it's showing up.
It did.
It did. It took a few months.
Don't pretend like you don't know you're part of bets.
It's fine. It's fine.
Now you're the one who is Owen.
You're damn right. Mine's a little bit harder to pay off. But anyway.
I'll call you Mr. Nolan because you're Owen. It's a hockey joke. It's a 4. Grandy, you don't even know what that is.
Anyway.
I'll take it 2.
Anyway. They were probably told that day, and they laughed it off then, because why would it go to social? Why would it go to social? It would go to social because you're not doing what we already asked you to do.
Which is trade me.
The 49ers did not get a trade request yesterday, I'd argue. The 49ers got a trade request 3 weeks ago.
Probably.
And they were like, no. And Ryan Williams, in all of his brilliance as an agent, you know what we're going to do next? We're going to call Mike Garafolo.
But we're going to wait until rookies report.
Yeah.
When people are talking football again, you know what, Brandon? I have an idea. Let's wait until the MLB All-Star Week, and there's nothing going on. NBA Summer League, Bronny still hasn't hit a 3.
Great point.
That's quieting down. There's no baseball. There's nothing going on. Let's go then.
Yeah.
July 16th.
That's like the strategic.
Perfect.
They did it on the All-Star game. You're right. They knew that they could capture media. Maybe they waited until they knew that the other tweet of Ricky Pearsall's on the non-football injury. Bum, bum, bum. Brandon Aiyuk's replacement might have accidentally gotten into a motorcycle accident that we don't know about. No. This is all a show, because a show is all Brandon and his agent have right now. Listen, it's not that I don't have some I don't know if sympathy or compassion are the right words, right? Like the guy, he makes a ton of money, he's going to make a ton more money. Like he's fine. Sure. In a perfect world, every good employee shows up and goes, I'd like this, and a company goes, done. We're glad that we had this meeting. Here's your new contract. But there are circumstances here, and Brock Purdy is a part of this, whether we like it or not. And that's not prioritizing Brock over Brandon, although you would do that. I know people want to get activated about that. We already had an Xfinity mobile text number. Hey, why is it okay for Purdy to ask for an extension a year early and not Brandon? Neither of them are doing anything different.
Well, it's okay that Brandon asks.
Yeah, it's not a year early. It's exactly the right time to ask, and the 49ers are offering him one.
Exactly. So, it's
we're fine here.
Yes, and a quarterback is different than a receiver, and we all know that, and you can think what you want to think about Brock Purdy. They think he's pretty good.
Yeah, and he is.
By they, I mean everybody in the league.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and
Brandon
it's not,
is too.
And it's not the Niners' fault or Brock's fault that football works the way it does and that the quarterback is more important. He just is because he is.
Right,
Sorry.
he's the quarterback.
Sorry. The Chiefs went, Tyreek, you want $30 million? Oh, that's cute. Would you like to be a Dolphin? We'll call you from the Super Bowl both years.
Yeah. Maybe you can sit in the box with Brittany Mahomes or Taylor Swift and watch.
We'll get you a ticket.
No
you
doubt.
are in the Chiefs' Ring of Honor. And Tyreek was lucky. He was lucky with the way this played out. He's not going to win any Super Bowls, but he's at a spot where he's got a quarterback who can throw him the ball. Brandon, you could end up on the Panthers.
Or the Commanders. And we don't know how good their quarterback's going to be.
Right.
We think he's going to be good.
Well, he thinks he knows.
And Brandon thinks he knows.
Yeah.
The thing about this that is most troubling is when you look at all of the things that have gone on already. And Brandon Aiyuk said right after the Super Bowl, they talked extension. And that was in February. And here we are in July. And I would imagine there have been talks, there have been offers, there have been counteroffers. There's been a lot of stuff that's gone on. And yet here we are July 17th. And we are at a stalemate to the point where he's requesting a trade. So not only are they still significantly far apart, it feels to me like both sides are dug in. And the Niners are reportedly at $26 million thinking this is our number. And Brandon, if you're far apart, is probably closer to 30. And now he's so dug in that he's requesting a trade. So for me, the idea of finding that middle ground, with every passing day, it becomes more difficult as each side is more entrenched.
Totally agree. And by the way, I got a question for you here. Let's go to the phones. But
Let's
afterwards,
go to the phones.
I want to ask you a question about the idea, because I firmly believe Brandon admitted this, that he asked for one number, and then when he saw the other receivers get big numbers, he changed his number. And I there's conflict there for me. I want to ask you about that, but let's go to Travis and Vallejo first. Hi, Travis. You're on with Willard and Dibs. Good morning, bud. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, guys? To me, I believe Aiyuk is like a mid-tier 2 wide receiver. I think he's really solid. I think he's really good. I think 26 is a good number. Again, there's levels to this, and my confidence in Shanahan to turn Pearsall into a top 25 receiver, I have more confidence in that than finding a defensive player that Shanahan can develop. I'd rather him use money on those type of positions rather than a wide receiver. That's just my opinion. Instead of going all in into another wide receiver, I'd rather him allocate that money to other positions that he's not quite strong in.
Travis, I think the 49ers largely agree with you. You know, I mean, look.
How soon can Ricky Pearsall be an Aiyuk replacement because you're in a Super Bowl window?
No clue. No clue if he ever can be.
Right.
I don't even know if he's any good at all. Or I don't know if he's better than Brandon Aiyuk.
Interesting that he said a tier 2 receiver because the Niners are offering him tier 1 money. Well, I'm looking at the ones that have been signed.
What's tier 1 money? What's the number there?
Oh, Justin Jefferson, $35 million a year. That's tier 1.
Put him over there, though.
A.J. Brown's making $32 a year.
That's tier 1.
Average annual.
Yeah, Amon-Ra, tier 1.
30 and change. Tyreek Hill's making 30. Jalen Waddle's making 28.2.
Now, is he tier, I know that this is different than tiers.
This is kind of my point, though.
He's the second wide receiver on his team.
Devontae Adams is making 28.
Okay.
He's tier 1.
That's tier 1.
Cooper Coop or Cooper Cup, however you prefer it, he's making 26.7, but that was signed 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So if he signed now, he would be...
He'd get more. Yeah. Well, or he'd get less.
Depending on
due to the fact that he gets hurt a lot and the Rams found someone else.
I'm looking at the guys who signed this year: Michael Pittman Jr. and Calvin Ridley. I think it's fair to say that those are tier 2 guys.
Those feel like lesser than Brandon Aiyuk players, but go ahead.
But tier 2, and Pittman Jr. is making 23.3, and Calvin's making 23 average annual value.
But Devontae Smith.
I
think he's a very relevant figure in this conversation, and I'll tell you why.
He's making 25.
Okay.
He got 3 years. He's 25 years old, 3 and 75, and he got $34 million guaranteed.
There you go. Now, here's why Devontae is relevant on a couple of fronts. First of all, I understand that he's his team's second best receiver, but by the same token, he's the younger of 2 high-profile receivers, same as the Niners and Brandon Aiyuk. And similar age to Brandon Aiyuk. And I would argue that if you take their career as a whole, somewhat similar production and projection. And Devontae, he signed early. And he was asked after he signed, hey, Devontae, you signed your deal, and then, woo, Justin Jefferson got 35. You signed for 25. And Jalen Waddle got 28. And it was almost like the media went to him, especially in Philly. Boy, you really messed up, didn't you? You signed too early. Are you okay? Poke, 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 poke. Do you want to? Are you mad? Poke, 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 poke. You know what Devontae did? He looked at everybody, and I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, yo, I am good. I am making a ridiculous amount of money. And I want to be here, and I am very happy. Thank you for your microphone. We're done here. Now, does that mean Brandon has to act that way? No, he does not. But I find that to be a very, very relevant situation and reaction with regard to the Aiyuk situation. Because the bottom line is, it's up to you to find your own happiness. And if you okay, does 26.5 as a Niner versus 28.5 as a Commander, play that out. And you tell me which one makes you happy. And if the answer is Commanders, great. Still doesn't mean you can get there or make it happen. But, yeah, that's what you have to figure out.
Yeah, you got to figure out how you can get from where you are to where you want to be. And, if you don't sign any extension and you show up next Tuesday and you decide, I'm just going to play my 5th-year option, and you make $14 million and you make it through the year healthy, then next year, if you have a good year this year and you make it through healthy, you can go out and get that bag. But you mentioned it before, it's risky, especially in football, where if the Niners are offering you a 4-year deal, and I don't know that they are, but if it's 4 and 104, which would be 26 a year, and you can get $40 million of that guaranteed, which is about the percentage of money that normally is guaranteed. About 40 to 50% of the deals are guaranteed. For me, it would be hard to look at that, even though I think I deserve more and I want more. At the end of it, you're going to give me $40 million no matter what, and I have the chance to make $104 million doing what I love. I'm going to take that deal.
Well,
but everybody has to decide on their own. You're right. What makes you happy?
Well, and I'd also say, look, like, let's think about money. If that's what you're thinking about, let's think about money. Brandon Aiyuk, how about your profile? How about your marketability? How about your name value? How's that being on the 49ers, playing into January, potentially February, versus being with your buddy, Jaden, and the Washington Commanders, and a 100% certainty that when New Year's Day hits, your season's over. Isn't that worth something financially? I'd argue that is potentially worth $2 or $3 million a year.
Probably. I mean, playoff checks alone, and let alone, like you say, the endorsements. And if you happen to win a Super Bowl, you have a big game in the Super Bowl. Maybe you're the Super Bowl MVP.
Come on.
For crying out loud. That's worth a lot.